Welcome everyone to the first live stream of the Even Your Dynasty show. We've got Dan joining me in again today.
Man, making history. Look at this. First
know.
live stream. First of many.
Yeah, hopefully first of many. We do these every Thursday. Dan and I usually like to record. Obviously, last week he had some stuff come up, so we didn't do it last week. And, we're excited to do this again. This is one of my favorites to do every week. So
yeah, man, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we said, we were going to do it when it hit 500. I think Monday we cleared it. I think we're sitting at like 510 now. So appreciate the support from everyone. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Thank you everybody for all the support. It's been awesome. So we've got a few different topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to lead it off with the Phillies series, kind of our takeaways from that. So what I'll defer to you to start there, Dan.
Yeah, man. Giants are on a heater. We love to see it. Been a couple good series here. Phillies series ended great. I mean, we came out on top as far as the series is concerned. There's a lot of good, a lot of positives to take away out of it. The kids are still providing that spark. Obviously, yesterday was a weird game with the whole Harper Harrison incident, which I'm sure we'll dive into. But you just love to see the resilience that they showed, and that that 1-0 win that we had at the walk-off sac fly. I mean, in a bullpen game, going up a pitcher of that caliber, I mean, it was just it was great to see the team bring out that resilience. So I think, especially with Phillies, being one of the better teams in the league, I think that was just awesome to see.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, the Phillies have some weird thing going where they really struggle against the Giants in Oracle Park for, the last 5 or 6 years now in a row. But, at the end of the day, they had the best record in the NL. And, a lot of people can point to, who they've played and, their strength of schedule. But, the fact is this team just punked the Giants for 4 games in Philadelphia like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
completely different team. We looked like a completely different team.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Jackson Reitz was starting games in that series. I mean, that's really all you have to know. I mean, it's nice that they could turn around and take the series, get 2 out of 3. I think Kruko said it best at the end of yesterday's game, where it's like, the last 19 innings, they've scored 2 runs and they got a win out of it. So
yeah,
you just you take that and you move on. Now we got a tough series coming up against the Yankees. Hopefully they can, find a way to take 2 of 3. I said before this homestand that if they can at least split 3-3, I'd feel pretty solid about it, just given the fact that it's like the 2 teams with the best records in Major League Baseball coming to town. Absolutely. But if they can find a way to take 2 from New York, that'd be massive.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I think Rob touched on it in the community a few days ago, saying how the upcoming, let's say 6-7 weeks, we've got a pretty good amount of tough series that are coming up in this stretch. So it's going to be nice to see how tenacious and resilient these guys can be. And I think it started with Philly, but it also starts tomorrow against New York. So that'll be a good one to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they have Texas and Houston and a few teams coming up where you can't necessarily look at the records of these teams. Like if you look at the AL West, everybody is kind of struggling, but those are tough teams. Like Houston was off to an atrocious start. Texas was off to an atrocious start, and they both kind of righted the ship, similar to how the Giants started getting back up to 500. They're kind of doing that themselves. And I don't think at the end of the year, those 2 teams are going to be, 70 something win teams.
They're far too talented.
Yeah.
Far too much talent. So,
yeah. So there was some, they were good. Obviously, like you said, the one guy I really want to shout out right now is Elliot Ramos, who has reached base 18 straight games, which is impressive. And if you go back to since he got called up, he's reached base in 19 out of 20. So
that's impressive, man.
And there's people that are talking like he might need to go down, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that one. We're going to get to that later on, but when we talk about it, but we've already got our first super chat. Thank you, Kevin.
Shouts out, Kevin. Look at that.
Super chat for Even Your Dynasty. Giants content on YouTube. Hashtag free Draco. Yeah, the cat's not. So keep him out of here. You might hear him though. But some other positives from that series. The pen threw the ball really well. I mean, the fact that they went up against Zach Wheeler, and you had a bullpen game, and Miller, Jelly, Taylor Rogers, even in the second and third inning, they had so many good guys in that, or threw the ball in that game, that it was huge.
Yeah, man. I think, like you said, just the fact that if you can point to, one weak link on the team throughout the entire season, it was probably the bullpen for the majority of it. And just to see them show up against Zach Wheeler and actually pull it out in a 1-0 win, I mean, that was impressive in itself.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and a shout out over to, who was it? I've drawn a blank already on his name. But not Dalton Jeffries. Spencer Howard.
Spencer Howard, yeah.
God.
The opposite of Dalton Jeffries.
Yes, yeah, he did the opposite. He had a really good spring. He was another guy that we were talking about bringing that might have snuck onto the roster coming out of opening day. And he came up. Now, granted, I've watched a lot of him in Sacramento. He didn't look all that different than what you see in Sac. And when I say that, I mean he throws a lot of his fastball is better than Jeffries, but his he still doesn't have like sharp swing and miss stuff, generally speaking. And really the Phillies just missed a lot of middle fastballs, hanging breaking balls. And, at some point it's going to catch up to him. Someone's going to not miss those, but it wasn't that day. And he gave him 4 scoreless. So, hats off to him, and hopefully he can keep it up. I mean, they could use a quality bulk arm. I've said that they've missed Tristan Beck this season more than almost anybody in that pen. Just my opinion. He was pretty much nails for them last season, and not having him in a bulk role, or, he got used in the 10th inning a lot and got through the inning pitching around the ghost runner. Not having him this season, it's hurt them. And,
yeah, absolutely.
So they could use a guy that could, hopefully give them some of those.
Yeah, I hope Howard sticks around. I mean, he showed a lot of flashes, and then just with his call up, he's brought a nice little spark, and I think he can even slide into that 5th role, that 5th option on the staff if need be, just until these guys get healthy and come back strong. So it's a lot of positives to take out of that for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they, I think knowing how Farhan operates and everything, I think they're going to just keep rolling with the bullpen games until, and they're going to try and get 4 innings out of him, or 5 if he's super efficient.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, as much as I'm not a huge fan, I want them to win, and if they're only doing it once through the rotation, I can live with it. Yep. Last year, where they were doing it 3 times every 5 pitches, or every time through the rotation, that was just too much. It's not baseball.
Yeah, it was like literally every other day. I was tired of that. So yeah, I can live with it once a week for sure.
So yeah, all right. So now we'll turn to some of the bad. I think the guy that's really been like the worst of it to me has been Jorge Soler.
Yeah,
since the start of the year, and as far as guys in the lineup every day, and it's I do anticipate at some point he's gonna get hot. Like that's who he is. He's gonna have a month where he posts like a near 1,000 OPS and he hits like 10 home runs in a month, but it hasn't happened yet.
I was gonna say it's waiting. The anticipation is what's just brutally painful. And he's grinding, man. He's just. Yeah. I think a lot of it is mental. I think it goes hand in hand. A lot of it's mental, and it's affecting his mechanics. So then he's overthinking, trying to be too aggressive. Next thing you know, he's in a 0-2 or 1-2 count, and then it's either a weak ground ball or a pop out or a strikeout. And it's been tough to see, but the power's there, the potential's there. We all saw it, especially last year with him with Miami. So I think it's a matter of when, not a matter of if. And it's just that waiting period for it to happen is it's brutal.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's because it's not even just that he's not producing. It's that he's he's having just completely unproductive outs repeatedly when there's where a situational at bat is at play or things like that. Or he seems like he constantly comes up with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, and it just never is coming through. I mean, the debate recently has been who's going to have more RBIs at the end of the year, Ramos or Slater, and it's already close.
It is. It is. So, I think you mentioned it yesterday. They have similar at bats now, don't they?
I'd have to look at what their plate appearances look like. But
someone pointed out it was pretty close, which I think was pretty telling. So, yeah, I mean, it's a matter of time. It's just, I think it was Andrew Bagley was mentioning to rally behind him, and which.
He's 32.
Yeah,
I figured it out.
Sunshine and unicorn sounds cool and all, but he's a vet. It comes a point in time where you got to go execute.
It's funny because I've said it for a long time with Slater, and I said it, and some people didn't like me saying this.
Don't say that name.
Don't say these. But but I've said how sad it is that this team is. And this organization is so dead set on rallying behind their veterans, and they just treat their young players like crap. And people are talking about rallying behind Jorge Soler while simultaneously dragging Marco Luciano through the mud.
Yeah, it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. But to each their own, man. I just.
Yeah,
we're gonna touch on that. Yeah, we're gonna touch on that. I want to take a quick second and just shout out everyone that's in the chat. Seems like everyone's showing up, showing some love. Shouts out Hayden, shouts out NorCal. Larry,
what's up, Larry?
Arcog, what's up? Welcome in.
Yeah,
we're gonna touch on a lot of fun topics here coming up.
Yeah. So I'd say the other negative from this series, the other big one was, and I don't want to harp on the kid too much, but Kyle Harrison, his command was not there. He had the little dust up with Harper, Harper after the game came out and was like, I wasn't even mad. And it's like, dude, you were barking at him.
See that whole interaction was just so weird to me because you can tell from the jump a couple of things. One, Harrison's command wasn't there. He said that he felt pretty good, but his command was not there, and it was pretty evident. And then you tie that into the fact that Harper went 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts up until that point, and they even showed him his body language was off. He was smacking the dugout with a bat, and then he gets a pitch chest high and he decides he wants to throw a tantrum and start barking. I was like, well, what was that all about? Nothing. It wasn't intentional. So I just found it funny.
Every pitch of the first at bat after that happened, I thought, did he throw at him in the first? And I just didn't see it.
Nothing.
And nothing was close.
He was just mad because he struck out twice.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. It's kind of ridiculous. I get, I get being annoyed. Had he had that second pitch come in that got close to him, that hit the handle of the bat, had he lost it there, I'd have understood that because I would have been back-to-back pitches up and in. And it's like that point, sure, get pissed off.
Exactly.
But it's a lot of people were pointing to his history with the against the Giants, the Strickland stuff, Blake Snell's hit him in the hand before and broke his hand and all this different stuff. And I'm like, Kyle Harrison has nothing to do with any of this.
He's a rookie. He's literally a rookie.
He's a rookie who's faced Harper because they did pitch him in Philadelphia last season. Yeah. So he's faced Harper 4 times now in his career, and he's never hit him. So it's like, guys, what are we doing here? And then the second one, the second pitch, I don't think it was intentional, but I also would not have been shocked if that was kind of a, what are you barking at me for here? How about I'll give you something to be pissed about?
Yeah.
So, it's tough. But at the end of the day, his command hasn't been there. He didn't walk a ton of guys yesterday, but he was all over the map, constantly behind.
What was it, 12 hits he gave up?
Yeah.
Career high.
And it's a good fastball hitting team, and it just shows how badly he needs. I like his changeup. I will say this. I like his changeup. I think it's a solid pitch, but I think that slurvy slider, whatever you want, it's a slurve basically. It's not fooling anybody.
I think he's got to turn that into either like a 12-6 or just a nasty slider. Because right now it's just kind of like an ugly little slurve, like you said. So
yeah, it's so loopy to me that it's just nobody's fooled by it. They're picking it up early. The way it angles, like they're not getting shocked by it at all.
Let me ask you this: what do you take of his velocity? Because compared to last season when he came up for those couple months, it's way down. I'm talking he was 97 fastball. Now it's like 90, 92.
So I've pulled up his average velocity, and this was before this last start. I'd have to go hop on Fangraphs and see if they've updated it at all. But before his last start, at least, his average fastball was last season, it was 93.6, and this season it was 93.2. So it's not like the average has not dipped, but last season he had pumped a few up into like the 97, almost 98 range. And this season he's not doing that. And I think his speeds varied a lot more last season. It feels like he's coasting at 93 now. Like you just see him right at like 92 to 94, like pitch in and pitch out. And, if you want to go off Baseball Savant and look at things like, fastball run value, like it's still one of the most valuable fastballs in the majors. And, but yeah, he's not humping it up to 97. And I don't have an issue with the velocity. I have more of an issue with the lack of plus secondary pitches that he can throw off of it. And so guys, a team like Philadelphia, that's a bunch of good fastball hitters. They're just going to sit on that thing all day long.
And I also think when he was going through the minors and, coming up through the farm, and then when he made his appearance, he thrived a lot on some of that nasty movement that he'd have with his fastball. So even if the velocity wasn't, 97 plus, he still had a nice little bit of cut naturally into his fastball, even in the low 90s. And this year it's just flat. So I don't know. It seems like there's something that's missing there. And I think I've heard a few people saying, well, maybe he's playing, through an injury. Who knows? But I definitely think mechanically someone's got to give.
Yeah. And, I think that's probably Ricky right there, is saying Harrison is the second youngest pitcher in the bigs right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not saying he stinks or anything, obviously. Like we think highly of him. I think he's going to be really good. He just needs to develop another pitch. I mean, remember how bad Logan Webb was before mid-season of 2021?
A lot of people forget.
Yeah, he was not effective. And a lot of pitchers, it's like that. It takes some time to figure it out. And I think he's going to be really good eventually. Now, I do think he's always going to struggle with command. He doesn't have a very effective or very consistent delivery.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can get a little nastier secondary pitches that you're going to get people chasing, then you can get away with that. But he just doesn't get a lot of chase outside of the fastball right now up. So
yeah.
And then
I
agree with Hayden here. I think it's a longevity play. Same with Hicks. Better long term if you can be effective at 93 than 97. Yeah, I mean, he's been trying to get into the 6. That's what he's said. He's trying to get through more innings, and he's not going to do that being a max effort guy.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with what I just said, as well as the latest comment from Larry. It's understandable if you're keeping velocity down for the longevity play, but you still got to have that nasty movement in which he was known for coming up through the system and what he showed glimpses of last season. So it's the fact that the velocity's down. He doesn't have an elite secondary pitch, and his primary weapon being the fastball is just chilling in the zone, being flat, doesn't have any type of movement to it. I think it's just a combination of those, which is the reason why you're seeing performances like yesterday where, a lot of contacts being made off the guy. So he's still young. I got lots of hope for the guy. And I think he's going to be a great number 2 or number 3 starter. Still young. So it's just, you got to go through the growing pains.
Absolutely. He's going to, as he goes through it, he'll improve, just like, and if he doesn't, he's not going to last. That's the thing. Like,
plain and simple.
If the league figures him out and he doesn't adjust back, like that's baseball right there. You're adjusting forever. So it's if he doesn't adjust back to the league, like he's not going to last. But I do like his competitiveness. I like that he doesn't back down to anybody. But he's going to have to figure that out. And I do want to see I don't know if he's just gassed and he just doesn't have it in the tank, but I would like it if, when he gets to the 5th or 6th inning and he knows like my night's nearing its end, I'd love to see it if he could still get that reach back and, hit 97 on a guy
for sure.
Get a big out.
And
I just don't know if he has that at that point in the game or what, but it would be nice if he could still do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Mark just touched on right here, growing pains. And that's going to be the emphasis, with the youth movement in general that fans have been asking for with this team. So not only just Harrison, who's going to be going through the growing pains as a pitcher, players we've touched on and that we'll elaborate on some more, Matos, Ramos, Luciano, there's going to be growing pains and people need to settle down. I don't want to jump into it this minute unless we're going to, but people that are claiming Luciano, is the biggest bust and you got hands of stone and blah, 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 because he's 22 years old and he's played 9.5 games this season. And the errors don't look good. He's probably not a natural shortstop. L emphasizes right here. There's going to be growing pains when you're going with the youth movement, plain and simple.
Yep. No, and I think that's a perfect segue. We'll go ahead and jump in on the Marco Luciano, the topic here, because he's made 4 or 5 errors now, and like most of them have been in the 9th inning, and
plus, 6 errors.
Yeah, 6 errors. Okay, so 6 errors. Although I don't think they signed him one I think they ended up ruling it a hit. Or are you factoring that in already?
No, so I think it was 6 errors, and then the one yesterday was ruled a hit. So 6 errors prior to that. So.
All right, so he's got 6 errors, and I know a lot of the people in here probably saw we did a whole like trial thing. We did Kangaroo Court over on NorCal Sports Network, so check them out if you haven't already. But we did a whole debate on Marco Luciano here, and I have my thoughts, but I'm gonna punt to you, and then I'll for those of you that might have heard me yesterday, you guys know how I feel about it, but I'm gonna punt to Dan to start this one off. What are your thoughts on? I guess it's because there's a lot to digest with him, both the errors he's made, how the organization has handled him up until this point, development wise, how he's played, how, what you want to see going forward. There's a lot with him.
There's a lot to unpack. And I'm going to start from the very, very beginning, which a lot of fans don't seem to know. And if they do know, they don't seem to understand. Marco Luciano comes out of the Dominican Republic. Okay. In the Dominican Republic, they basically are teaching all the players or all the kids that are trying to get into baseball to be a shortstop. They like the versatility they can provide and give them better opportunity to be noticed and to be, elected and, signed straight out of their country to an MLB team, which can also give their families opportunities and whatnot. So he came up with the expectation and with that Dominican background of you're going to be a shortstop and you're going to be the truth. So here's the thing with this. So it comes down to, is he a shortstop? Me personally speaking, I don't think so. I think he's going to be best suited as a corner outfielder / first baseman. I think we've seen it since he's been coming up to the system that, naturally he probably doesn't have that baseball IQ that's needed for the position, that, elusiveness that's needed for that position. He's got a pretty good arm. But you see it on these errors, how a lot of them are mental errors, gloves, going for a backhand when it should be trying to catch it this way, going in the wrong direction, wrong initial first step. People have even pointed out his throwing motion probably isn't best suited for a shortstop role. I just think a lot of it's going to be mental, and there's a lot of pressure that they got going and have applied on Luciano since they signed him when he was 16 years old. So I think it's easier to teach defense than it is to teach offense. And offensively, he is a natural star. He's got the swing for it. He's got the pop. He's got the hand-eye coordination. He's got all the fundamentals that you can't teach per se. He's got that as a hitter. He's naturally going to be a great hitter. It's all about finding him a role on the defensive side that's going to be best suited for him. DH is going to be obviously a good option for him, but we got Slater. So where do you slide Lucy into? That's where I point out corner outfielder / first base. And I don't know why you and I have been asking for it since spring, and we have been drilling it that they need to convert him, teach him another position. Even we were talking about this recently. Send him down to Sacramento for a month, throw him at first base, see how he does. Because, I mean, dude, he's 22 years old. Literally the only way to go is up. He's not even close to entering his prime. He's got such raw, untapped potential. And this isn't me being a homer. This isn't me, being any of that. I've even vocally said, hey, if it makes sense, trade him for a legit superstar player. And so there's no bias that's coming here. If anyone that knows the game can see it, just looking at him, that he's got raw, untapped potential. Just as a baseball player in general, it's just all about going through those growing pains and finding a position that's best suited for him. Because I truly don't think it's going to be shortstop.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, and I'm not opposed to them trading him. I don't particularly want them to trade him. I want to see him get a chance. This is a guy we've heard about for 6 seasons now. Mm-hmm. He's been in the system since he was 16, and he's been highly touted, top 50 or so prospect for 6 years now. And it's our shiny toy that we finally get at the major league level. We all want to see it, but I'm not opposed to trading him as part of a package for a big, superstar caliber player. Obviously, it's not going to be just Luciano for somebody. It's going to be Luciano plus a headlining piece along with a Wisenhunt or whatever to get, if you're trying to trade for Bo Bichette, Luis Robert Jr., Kyle Tucker, whatever, any of these guys that are controllable young star players, not Pete Alonso. I don't want 2 months of him just for him to walk personally, but if you're going to make this deal though, that's fine. Commit to doing something like that with him. And if that's what they're doing and that's why they're just leaving him at short for now, whatever, then do it. Make the big trade, put your, what on the table for once, Farhan, and make the trade. And then fine, I could live with that. But if you're not going to, figure out what you're going to do with him, because you guys have had 6 years now to determine where he needs to play defensively, and they haven't. And if you're not going to do that, and now you're in this situation where his bat looks ready, and you're going, oh well, we don't know where to play him. It's well, what have you been doing for 6 years?
Exactly.
We all knew he probably wasn't a shortstop when you first signed him as a 16-year-old. There were already scouts talking about how he probably isn't going to fit. Within 3 years of that, you should have had an idea. By the time you came out of COVID in 2021, you should have had a pretty good feel on whether or not he would stick at shortstop.
Yeah.
If you're doing your job. And the fact, so I'm okay with them sending him down for a month or so to try and figure out a new position, whether it's left field, first base, whatever, I if they're going to actually have him go down and learn a new position, I am all for it.
Yeah.
If you're going to just send him down to play shortstop, I can't get behind that. That's just idiotic in my opinion, because it's the definition of insanity here. We're just going to do the same crap. We're going to expect a different result next time he comes up. And then we're going to all throw a fit when he makes 4 or 5 errors again at shortstop. It makes zero sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was going to say, there's a lot, and for those of you that heard me on NorCal, sorry, it's going to be a little bit repetitive for you guys here, but if we're going to just, the saying I used yesterday was the Giants have made their, they've made their bed. It's time to lay in it. You already screwed up and kept him at short up until this point. Deal with it.
Yeah.
And I know people don't want to see a bunch of errors, but there's a long history of guys that swung the bat well, that got to, just go through the struggles defensively because their teams know the talent that they have on the offensive side. And they understood that developing the bat, takes priority in that situation. Look at a guy like Ellie De La Cruz. Look at a guy like O'Neal Cruz. Look at Marcus Semien, who made 35 errors for the A's back in 2015. And Bob Melvin was his manager, and he sat through 35 errors and just let it go. I mean, granted, sure, they won 68 games, but this team was on pace for about 68 wins before all the kids showed up. So, 100%. And yes, small sample size, whatever, but like at some point, prioritize the future, because I could care less if the guy kicks 30 balls this season. If by the end of the season, we're looking at him as a guy that can be a 3 through 5 hitter somewhere in there, where we're going into 2025 knowing that guy is going to be in the middle of our lineup. That guy is a difference maker. We're going to figure out where to play him. I will deal with defensive struggles for a season to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that this is a guy that we've been wanting to see, that's been hyped up for years. And I'm just going to say it. He has been getting the Heliot Ramos, Joey Bart treatment since, he made his appearance last season. And that all falls on one guy. But Charlie says we should start giving Luciano the reps that Soler is getting at DH. Soler needs some downtime at this point.
Yeah. Give him a few starts a week at DH until Soler starts heating up.
I'm all for it. My only thing is that what speaks volume on this team if you're comparing the two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you know why they're not going to do it, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
and it's
they're paying them way too much to sit them just to sit them.
Yeah, it's just they're not going to sit him. Unfortunately, I would love for Luciano at least to have been getting one start a week at DH. Give Soler a day off and let Luciano hit. But like you said, Soler's making $14 million a year. We've got some veterans that are going to be coming back. We're going to be diving into that here in a moment.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah. There we got. Let's see what we got. I skipped Kevin. We're going to jump back to Kevin here in a second. Yeah, that ain't that the truth, Mark. Farhan's more concerned about who and his ego than it is, than who actually helps the team win. If he cared about development and winning and not just his guys, then we wouldn't have seen Wade Meckler and AJ Pollock playing last season. Elliot Ramos would have gotten the actual look that Farhan claims he wanted him. We wished he saw. So
they added Meckler to the 40 way too quick.
Yeah, Wade is out. Perfect time to throw him at first. Let him live and learn, and Flores can trade in his glove for some pom-poms.
Don't get me started on Wilmer Flores. I will go on.
Stan's favorite player.
Yeah, no, I may look like the guy, but I can't stand him.
The
problem is
like Flores too much, unfortunately.
I know. The problem though with this idea is that you can't teach a guy a new position at the big league level if you are trying to win. If you want to teach him first, you're gonna have to send him to Sacramento, and that's just the honest truth. That position is unfortunately occupied by Wilmer Flores. So, Wilmer with runners in scoring position. That's all I'm going to say. I would love if Flores can just get some pom-poms just to have them. But unfortunately, with Wade being out, he is going to get the majority of the starts, and they're not going to teach a guy a new position that he's never played at the big league level.
Yeah. It's just... and that's where I would love it if they could, if maybe they're trying to start his development there, maybe while they're in San Francisco, maybe they were trying to, it would have been cool if we found out they were trying to teach him first. And, Will Clark was getting out there a little bit for a week and, while they've been at home and whatever the case may be. But if you're going to actually like in practice, learn a new position, he needs to just go down to SAC for a month, play 24 games. I mean, you play 6 days a week down there. So, play 20 to 24 games and see what you got.
But I think,
and then live with the struggles there.
I think one of the biggest things that we haven't even touched on, he pulled his hamstring yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of people thought he got benched. I mean, it was suspicious, but
it was just bad timing. You don't get benched and then by consulting with a trainer. So there's a good chance he could be out for a few weeks. And then what do we do at that point? There's already a lot of guys coming back, which we're going to touch on, but what do you do with Luciano?
I think it's going to be Farhan's excuse to just, he's injured, and then he's going to bring others down, and then he just won't bring Luciano back up, at least not right away.
He'll probably block him because it's the Nick Ahmed show.
And I'm going to get to Nick Ahmed. Even I have feelings on that, regardless of if I have feelings on that, regardless if Luciano's up on this club or not. But I mean, he had hamstring tightness. We'll see what they do there. I don't anticipate we're going to see him back unless it's just, tightness and they have the day off today and whatever. Maybe he's back in the lineup in a day or two and we're shocked, but I don't anticipate it.
If he hits the IL, I have a strong feeling that if there's no other infield injuries, we're not going to see him until September.
I would not be surprised.
Because with how Wisley's been playing, they're going to want to keep him on the big league level. You got Fitzgerald with his versatility. He can play that position if need be. Then, Farhan's pride and glory, Nick Ahmed comes back. He's going to roll him out there on a daily basis. So I think there's a good chance that if he lands on the IL, you won't see him until September call-ups.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive in on the we have a lot of decisions that this team's going to be. It's getting close to because we've already got Austin Slater in Sacramento. Swinging and missing in Sacramento.
He doesn't have a hit, man. He doesn't have a hit in Sacramento.
0 for 6 with a walk. We've got Michael Conforto, I believe, is taking BP and things like that. I'll let you actually give the update on these guys. So I think you sent something out the other day.
I did. Slater already started his rehab assignment, like you said. He's absolutely just killing it in Sacramento. It's very impressive to go over 6 and sack, and you're a 31-year-old player that's supposedly better than Mookie Betts. So that takes pristine talent right there. Michael Conforto will be beginning a rehab assignment this week. I think with the week almost up, he's probably going to report to Sacramento as early as tomorrow. So there's a good chance that you can see him back within the next 7-10 days. And then who else is hurt? Ahmed. Ahmed's already started taking BP, so no word on a rehab assignment for him, but he is getting closer. So same thing I'd say within the next, week or two, you'll get a little bit more clarity on that. So you got guys that are coming back, and that's going to leave a lot of positions, which you can highlight that bottom comment right there that just popped up, because that is exactly how I feel. If they send Luis Matos or Heliot Ramos down to bring back the walking trash can with the stupid face and stupid mustache, Austin Slater on this team, I'm going to lose it, bro. I'm going to go absolutely nuclear, because what has Slater shown that is better than Ramos or Matos? He can't hold their jock strap on any aspects of offense or defense. Like, there's nothing more valuable that you gain from Slater in comparison to Ramos and Matos. And that was apparent because as soon as he got sent down with that stupid concussion, that he started saying, "Oh, we gotta replace the chain link fence. We gotta replace I got hurt." Bro, you hit the padded wall. Like, I get you want to act like a vet because you're the face of the franchise now this offseason, apparently. But
longest tenured Giant.
Goody. Wait for the Austin Slater bobblehead day. Yeah, if there's literally no room on the 26 for Slater. I'm sorry. And I'm just gonna say that. And I want him gone. I've wanted him gone for 3 years. I don't care that he hit 260 off left-handed hitters back in 2020, whatever. I want him gone. And as soon as he's finished with his rehab assignment, I hope they DFA him because he's got no role on the team.
Yeah, and they do have 20 days that they can rehab, I believe is what the number is. That's the magic number. They can rehab him for 20 days.
Correct.
And I wouldn't be shocked if they use the entire 20 days, barring a trade. I wouldn't be shocked if they hang on to him, because this is what Farhan does. He's scared to not have depth, and I wouldn't be shocked if he just hangs on to him for 20 days. And Farhan's probably secretly hoping that one of these kids falls apart or another injury happens that creates an opportunity for him to keep his favorite guy on the team. But it's like more Katniss says here, like, we got to go nuclear. If they make this move, that to me, that is an on the spot fireable offense. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's no logic behind it. And I'm going to show something here. We're gonna share something on this one.
And here's the thing I just want to touch on before you do that.
Yeah.
You pointed it out by saying that they literally blocked Ramos last year in favor of AJ Pollock and Wade Meckler. So, and that was because, he wasn't showing much, blah, blah, blah. What has he shown since he came up? He's got like, what, a 346 on base percentage, something like that? Elliot Ramos in particular.
Elliot Ramos is 370.
Oh, 370. Base. I'm sorry. I was downplaying it. 370 on base percentage. And like you said, he's got on base in 18 straight games and 19 out of 20 or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, if that's not enough, then I've lost all hope for Egghead, man. I just, I can't do it, man. I can't do it if they send him down.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, that would be brutal. I mean, that would be, like I said, to me, it is a fireable offense on the spot if they make that move. And I'm going to go over some attendance stuff here in a second, but for starters, I'm going to share this. So this is Austin Slater's Baseball Savant page. This is from last season, because I was nice. I didn't even use this season where he has been possibly the least valuable hitter in the league. If Javi Baez didn't exist. This is from last season when he was, productive for half the season.
Mm-hmm.
Batted ball metrics, nothing to write home. There are some good things. Exit velocity is nice. Some of the numbers are nice. His chase percentage, really good. Walk percentage was good. Whiff and strikeout, not great. But all of these things, nothing was overly impressive. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy making $800,000. Let's swap this over to we're gonna go ahead and swap this over to Elliot Ramos now. Oops.
Tom Murphy hasn't beat. You guys are trying to trigger me today, man.
All right, so now this is Elliot Ramos this season, who, as we look, and it's hard to see because he hasn't qualified enough. Neither of them have where they have the percentiles on it, but you can get an idea on this. All the batted ball metrics are either very above average to elite. His chase rate is now better than league average. You can tell the line's right here. It goes to, a little past that. It's probably in like the 55th percentile or something like that. Mm-hmm. His walk percentage is probably in the 75th or so percentile. He's walking 11.1% of the time. The only thing with Ramos is swing and miss, where it's 31% whiff rate, 30.9% K percentage, which Austin Slater last season had a 29.5% whiff rate and a 28% strikeout percentage. These aren't guys that like it's not like we can even point to Slater and be like, oh, well, he consistently puts it in play. Like, he doesn't. Like, there's nothing that he does.
He matches left-handed hitter. That's why he has 5 singles on the year.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, to me, it makes no sense to even bother. Elliot Ramos, in a small sample size, I will say that, but against left-handed pitching this season, he's got 19 plate appearances. He's got a 333 average and an 1141 OPS. Like, What are we doing here if we're going to make that move? That is a move that is unforgivable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
But
and for the defense lovers out there, just compare their defense as of late. Ramos has been night and day. Better glove, better range, better first step, better speed, better arm.
The arm, Slater's got okay speed and okay range. He looks kind of weird out there. He kind of reminds me of Pence the way he moves out there, where it's just kind of awkward. But he moves well but his arm is terrible comparatively to Ramos.
I've always said that Austin Slater reminds me of like that generic player on MLB The Show. Like if you go to make a player and you just like generic player 1, that's Austin Slater. That's just the best way I've been able to describe him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
He's very unnotable.
But at least he has a cool mustache.
And the fact that he's been a giant longer than Will Clark was, that's embarrassing in my book. But that's baseball. Sometimes
build the statue, man. Put a picture of his face and that mustache right on my Covey coat.
Yeah. So we'll stop picking on Slater now for the day. We've gotten our Slater kicks in for the day. The next guy that's probably back is Conforto, which Conforto is a legitimate, major leaguer. He's a legitimate starter. I have no issue with Michael Conforto coming in and playing significant time. He absolutely should. He makes the team better, especially when he's hitting. He makes the team better.
He was arguably the best hitter up until he got hurt on the team.
Agree. Between him and probably Wade, but I personally liked what Conforto did more just because of the damage he was providing.
He was
in the middle of the order. Yeah, I mean Wade. I'm not here to disrespect Wade. 470 on base or whatever he's got right now. That's insane. Yeah. He's come up with numerous clutch hits at the end of games to tie games up, but like more impactful is the guy that's doing the damage in the middle of the order. So Conforto absolutely should play. Now, my hope is that the time that he's taking is going to be more from a guy like Mike Yastrzemski than it is from Ramos or Matos. But, sorry, one more dig at Slater.
Look, you know me, man. Those that know me, you can never have too many digs at Slater.
Yeah, no, I know.
Wilmer, power hitting catcher, Tom Murphy, they deserve it, man.
That's great.
But no, go back to Conforto. He looked like a different guy this year. 2 years removed from that shoulder injury, his mechanics look sharper. He's able to, get his hips into the inside pitch, which he was missing a lot last year. He looked like a man on a mission this season up until he pulled his hamstring. So
he wants to get paid.
He wants to get paid. He's a legit threat when he's on. And he's been missed, and I can't wait to see him come back. And like you touched on with Wade, there's no shots being taken at Lamont Wade. People think that I despise the guy. With me personally, I'm a realist, and I can see in his role, he does fine. But he's not some superstar. He's not some elite player. He's on pace for about 8 home runs and 50 RBIs before he pulled his hamstring. Yeah. So that's where you just mentioned the impact that a player brings by bringing up Conforto, just in comparison. That's what I'm referencing at, and he's not a power guy. He'll get you a couple clutch hits. He'll get you a single. He'll get you, he'll draw a walk. I personally think his on-base percentage is unattainable or unsustainable, I should say. For an entire season. So it's like if he's not getting on base and he's not hitting home runs and he's not driving in runs, where's the value in that? Where's the superstar potential that I see a lot of fans mentioning? So I love the start that he's had. He had a very similar start last season before he kind of dropped and fell off a cliff. So it sucks to see him hurt. He was obviously the team's, best hitter as far as getting on base is concerned. So he's dearly missed. And I would love anyone over Wilmer Flores at first. So I can't wait for this to get healthy, man. And it'll be a sight for sore eyes once the team is clicking at all cylinders and you've got Chapman that is still hot as he's been as of late. You got Soler that's picking it up, and you got Conforto bring in the oomph in the middle of the order.
Yeah.
If you got, a 3-4-5 or 4-5-6 with those guys, that's when they're on, that's a pretty good, middle of the order to have.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I mean, it'll be nice when Wade gets back. They don't really have a true leadoff hitter on this team. I had an idea last night of who I'd probably stick there for right now, and I'll get to him in a few minutes. But because Matos does not belong there. I would rather Matos be hitting second. A case could also be made to move him down in the lineup where he has more RBI opportunities.
Agreed.
He's just he's too aggressive early in counts that he does not belong there. He chases a lot. He doesn't see a ton of pitches. I mean, he has a good idea of the zone, but he's an elite bat to ball guy. So he doesn't miss a lot. So when he does swing, like he's putting it in play quickly, unlike some of these guys.
He was a lot more effective in that 5 through 7 position.
Yeah, put him at 5 right now. I mean, I'd be fine with that. I put him at, like I said, I liked him at 2 with his bat control skills, and you can do more things like hit and runs or whatever if you want to try stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, definitely get him out of the leadoff spot, 100%.
I think I know who you want to go to leadoff spot. I think I know.
We'll see if you get this one, but no, when Wade gets healthy, like he would be an ideal. I think putting Wade up at leadoff would make sense. I mean, why not have a guy that's got a 470 on base?
And like Mark said, he can work the count. That's probably his best attribute that he brings, and I think having him lead off, obviously with Jung Hoo Lee gone, would probably be the best option. But like I said, I'm 99% sure I know who you're gonna say. And you're laughing because you know.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know me.
So the last of the veterans, and this is the one that I think genuinely could go either way, because I think Conforto's a lock to come back. I think I will never say Slater is a lock to not come back. But I think if the young kids keep playing the way they are, I do think Farhan's going to get forced into either DFAing him or trading him. I think he's going to get his hand forced on that one.
Yeah.
Now the last one is Nick Ahmed, where we have kind of a weird situation now with Luciano. I don't think if Luciano was still playing every day and still hitting, I think they could have, they probably would have brought Ahmed back as, a defensive replacement and just lived with the defense. But, right now the Giants have both Tyler Fitzgerald and Brett Wisley up on the roster. And I know my opinion, even if we're going to go send Luciano down to go learn a new position, I would rather see a Wisley Fitzgerald platoon over at shortstop than ever seeing Mr. 550 on base percentage, 63 OPS plus or whatever he is. I mean, the guy is atrocious offensively. Yeah. I don't want to see Nick Ahmed taking any more bats. This team has scored over 5 runs a game since he came out. Him specifically came out of the lineup. The team has scored 5 runs a game.
Yeah.
That's not a coincidence. And yes, people can point to Chapman producing. They can point to, all sorts of things. A couple guys started swinging the bat well. Ramos and Matos obviously had huge impacts when the guys in the outfield got hurt and they came in and stepped in. But the reality is, since Ahmed came out, the team has scored. And that, part of that is attributed to the bottom of the lineup constantly giving them runs. Mm-hmm. And you're not just throwing an out away every time through the lineup now with him out. So I personally would rather see Wisley and Fitzgerald in some sort of platoon. And that doesn't necessarily mean they only play short. They're still versatile players. You can still, put Fitzgerald out, at whatever third, or Wisley at second, or, you can move these guys around. They can even play center field occasionally.
Yeah.
You have options with these players. And, and yes, my answer would be, I was thinking of Brett Wisley possibly leading off in the interim.
The garden gnome.
Yes. And I know you're not a huge fan of Wisley, but the way I look at Wisley is the team doesn't have a leadoff hitter right now. Like that, they just don't. And what he did in Sacramento, he works a lot of counts. He hasn't really drawn a lot of walks up here, but he has still worked counts and seen pitches.
Yeah.
He doesn't strike out a ton. He gets on base a ton. You know, he had a 400 plus on base percentage down in sack. Obviously, he's hitting like 409 right now. He's not going to sustain that. Like, he's not going to hit 409 forever. But if he can keep getting on base like he is, you know, that's his skill set right there. And he does have plus speed. So I think he could be a good table setter, and it might be a short-term thing. You know, they might put him in leadoff. It might be too big of a role for him. He might fall on his face, and then you kick him down in the order. But
yeah,
for right now, I think it would make sense. Way more than Matos.
Yeah, and you know how I feel about Wisley, but I do give credit where it's due, and he, you know, changed up his stance, changed up his approach a little bit, and he's been a rejuvenated player since he's came up this season, compared to last. And so, like you said, I think Matos is better equipped as a, you know, like a number 5 hitter. So you've got that option up at, you know, leadoff, and I think Wisley is the obvious choice. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the Garden Gnome, I give credit where it's due, and I think he'd be pretty effective there for the time being. So, but like you said, I would much rather have a Fitzgerald Wisley platoon at short and send Ahmed packing, because yes, Ahmed he's a veteran. He's a natural shortstop. He's got the instincts. He's got the IQ. He's got the glove. He's got a noodle arm, like Mark pointed out. He's got a noodle arm. Let's just face it. You're not going to get the range. We were spoiled with Crawford for years. You're not going to get that from Ahmed. And I just think the fact that he can ground, or he can scoop up a ground ball, you know, deep in the hole, but he's not going to make the throw, but he's going to at least scoop it up. That does not make up for his atrocious, you know, offensive skill set. And his arm isn't good enough to make up for it. So I think it's best to go with the kids, go with that platoon, go with the energy, go with the versatility. Dude, you can slide Fitzgerald in the outfield. You can slide him at short. You can slide him at second. Shoot, he's played first. He even pitched. Like, you can bounce them around everywhere. Same with Wisley. You know,
Wisley's played center this season.
He's played center. He's, in my opinion, he's more of a natural second baseman, but obviously he can play short. So I think just the versatility that they bring, it's best to keep them and just get rid of Noodle Arm Ahmed.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and it's, yeah, they to me, it's pretty simple. Like Ahmed, yes, he's better defensively, but both athletically and base running, you know, the value of base stealing with Wisley and Fitzgerald, which Wisley's not, you know, he's not Fitzgerald where he's a threat for 30. But Wisley's a guy that if he was playing every day, I'd be willing to bet he would push 20. Like he'd probably get in the high teens at least on stolen bases. And, you know, these are guys that they're showing that they're non-zero at the plate, which is more than Ahmed can say. I mean, Ahmed did, you know, the one thing I give Ahmed credit for, he put the ball in play with relative consistency. He didn't strike out a ton. So he was solid in like situational at bats where there was a guy on third and less than 2 outs. And he was good at getting that guy in, which I don't take for granted in today's day and age. And, you know, in the way the Giants have played for years. I mean, the running joke has been like, oh, bases loaded, no outs. Yeah, let's see how they don't score this time. You know, I don't take that lightly that Ahmed was actually coming through in those situations. But at the end of the day, he's, you know, he is 30-something% worse than league average. And that's just unacceptable. You know, that's just not good enough. So I could have lived with him as a defensive replacement behind Luciano. But if we're not going to have Luciano up here, get him off my team. I'd rather see Fitzgerald and Wisley playing every day. Let those guys have their development and let the kids play. It brings more excitement. I'm gonna end off on my note here, unless you've got more for you. I went through the numbers today. The Giants have played 28 home games so far this season. Before Elliot Ramos, this is starting before the games in Cincinnati. So Elliot Ramos came up the second game of Colorado. Before him, who was like kind of the kid that broke the dam on all the young kids playing, the Giants' average attendance for home games was 32,020. Since then, and that was in 16 games. In the last 12 games they've played, their average attendance has been 34,661. What do people want to see? Like, it is bad business to send these kids back down because the fans have spoken. They would rather watch them play.
Yeah, I think you pointed it out earlier today too when we were talking, or you said, I would love to see how the attendance drops if they get sent down. And like I said, I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence the attendance went up and that the energy went up and that the wins went up and the offense went up and the defense went up. I don't think it's a coincidence that every single aspect of this team improved as soon as the kids got their opportunity. And it is a damn shame that it took injuries for Farhan to actually grab his huevitos and make that decision, because it's something we've been asking for since spring. And it took, the veterans getting hurt, the washed up ones that didn't even have a role in this team to get hurt for the season to improve with something we've been asking for months. But I'm a fake fan. What do I know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is. And, I'm not going to give Farhan credit yet. I'm not, because you don't get credit for getting your hand forced.
No.
You just don't, I mean, sure, some people can make the argument that, you get credit for having the depth and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, these are guys that should have been playing in the first place. And it took this to get to this point. So I'm not going to give him credit yet, not 1 ounce. But I will give him credit if he actually does the right thing and moves off of Slater, moves off an Ahmed, whatever. If he makes some of these tough decisions and clears the way for these guys, you get credit for that. And now, do you get a ton of credit? Probably not, because again, you shouldn't have taken this to do it. But I will give some credit where it's due in that situation.
I will give him his flowers if he mans up and makes a decision by getting rid of his beloved prized possession, Austin Slater, who's become like a son to him. If he cuts him and makes the fans and the team happy, I will give him his credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
And while we're at it, get rid of Tom Murphy. I'm just gonna throw that.
I mean, just bite the bullet on that one. It was a whiff. Kirk Casale is way more valuable as a defense-only catcher than Murphy is as no defense catcher. So
Murphy made $8 million.
Good for him. He'll always have that. But yeah, I agree though. There's no coincidence in how this happened, because the one argument I could see people bringing up with the attendance is, well, they started winning. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, why did they start winning? There's, no matter how we slice it, like, that is the one constant, is that's when the kids started playing, and that's when attendance went up, and they started winning. And if attendance go up because they won? Maybe. But why did they win? Because the kids brought energy, defense, offense, everything. Like, they changed the trajectory of the season.
Bingo.
So
nailed it.
We'll leave it at that. You guys tell us what you think in the comments. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, did you have anything else you had for today? I know we were going to try and keep this around an hour.
Perfect. I think we hit every nail on the head, and I threw my jabs at my arch enemies. So that was fun. Mark says more live shows, please. Yeah, I agree.
That is the goal.
I agree. Yeah. This is fun. This is fun.
This is a lot more fun. Love having everybody on here, jumping in the comments. We wanted more, fan interaction. It's fun for us to do the shows together, but we had been really looking forward to this. This was our goal here. I definitely want to start doing more of these. We're going to try and do these at least every Thursday is our goal. I know my work schedule is going to be changing, so they may end up being Thursday mornings. I'm going to start doing Ricky banned. No, I'm just kidding. No, we may start having to do these in the mornings, or we'll figure that one out scheduling wise. But definitely something I want to do. I've talked about maybe even doing the minor league one on occasion. Let me know your guys' thoughts as far as my plan is to cut these videos up and just post regular videos of these. Obviously, you can always get the live shows if you want. It'll be available on the channel to just watch the whole thing through. But I'm going to probably cut these up to where you guys can just see the different segments. So that's kind of the idea here.
And hey, just want to say before we go, congrats again on 500, bro. 500 subs is huge.
Thanks.
1,000 coming up soon. So, EYDShow this guy a lot of support. He deserves it. He's killer at what he does. So, just wanted to say from me to you personally, congrats, man. You deserve it.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everyone here. And if you enjoy it, please hit the subscribe, share it with your friends, whatever. I did this just for fun, and the fact that I get to bring Dan on here now, and I go do this stuff with the NorCal boys, and it's a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody
for sure.
So, all right, everyone, peace out. Go Giants. Enjoy the off day. Hopefully tomorrow we get a new streak started against the Yankees.
Let's do it. Let's keep it going.
All right. See you, everyone.